First of all, a big thank you to the ET Legal team for giving us this platform. I want to thank Nilanjan to start with that. I know we have a short chat, but so when this opportunity came along to do a fireside chat or speak about digitization in banks and how technology is taking over the legal function, I thought it would be a great idea to bring on board ICICI Bank and talk about our journey, because as a young startup, when we started out in 2017-18, ICICI was the first large organization to sort of take a punt on us and give us a really important problem to solve. And we have grown incredibly over the last 6-7 years with ICICI. So one key thing which we've realized working with ICICI is how deep startup engagement runs at ICICI. A lot of large organizations try to do this, but very few are actually able to do it meaningfully. And we've seen it very up close with ICICI, how deeply ICICI is involved with startups, how many problem statements ICICI is solving for the banking industry on behalf of the industry, working with young, innovative startups, right? And we've been a beneficiary of that. So I just quickly wanted to sort of bring in Nilanjan on this, right? What is the philosophy there for the bank, and how do you guys, sort of put this in motion?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shashwat. Shashwat, before I even respond to it, I think Shashwat has a very interesting story as to how Provakil started and what really caught one of the things which caught our attention as to how, I know you're supposed to ask questions, but how Provakil started. It is a very interesting story that he has a brother who's a lawyer, and he had empathy of seeing his brother suffer. And why don't you just give that?
It was missing out on beer, actually. So we were meeting him for dinner one evening, and at 10:30 he sort of in the middle of this dinner he just took off. And we were so perplexed. Why did it happen? He's like, oh, very important hearing has come up. I have to go to Jaipur tomorrow morning. So I have to now go, prepare for the case, brief, put the documents together, and I have to fly out at 5 in the morning. And we're like, how do you know this at 10:30 at night? He's like, the court clerk just called and he informed me right now. And so we're like, why did you not, if it's an important hearing in which involved the Chief Minister of a state, why did you know of this at 10:30 at night when, this information should have been known days in advance? So he told us, no, it's a manual process. Somebody missed something, and now last minute the lawyer called and informed us, and now we have to, there's a chartered flight going to Jaipur tomorrow morning, and my boss is going to be on it. And that's how we realized, wow, I come from a tech background, and we've seen in, tech percolate in so many industries, and we were like, how can this system not be online? And from therein started the hunt to figure out why should lawyers be getting this information last minute, right? And that's how the first version of the app came along. Then we met companies like yours who sort of gave us, the broader vision of what can be done, and today we are where we are.
So you see, this is actually the philosophy of our startup engagement. We really try and look for young, bright, future focused people who are solving real life problems. And so as we do the startup engagement, our strong belief is that the future of the financial services is going to be, where you come out with intelligent solutions, come out with customer-centric solutions, and deliver it to the customer. So that's to the core of the bank's philosophy of startup engagement. So we have a tagline which says bank to bank tech. So we are now in the transition of being a brick and mortar traditional bank to be what we call bank tech, which is a bank which is driven by technology. So it's the best of fintech and the bank, sort of fudge together. And so we therefore, one of the things which we do for our startup engagement is on a regular basis, we invite smart young startups to come and showcase to the about 700, 800 people in the bank, the leadership team of the bank, as to what are they creating. And from there, we then identify people that we have a real life problem. We give that problem to a handful of out of those which we feel are relevant. And we give them the problem and say, now solve it and come and give us a proof of concept. And with that, and from that, we come and, we either would give them a real project, and in some cases, we would also invest in that company. The investment is only for the purpose, there are only two distinctions. Where we invest, where we do the project, it is really solving the problem. Where we invest, we also get involved in addition to solving the real problem and also helping them to grow. So we then help them open doors with customers, with other people, other relevant stakeholders. So they are able to then actually sort of monetize or grow better. One of the key things which we look at is that we don't look at any of these as a transactional matter. We look at any of these where we feel that they have a reliability and there is a collaboration and there is a meeting of mind. So a no startup for us would be the, just for the transaction.
No, again, I can vouch for that, right? We are massive beneficiaries of this engagement, and over the last 6 years, the engagement with ICICI Bank that we've had, Provakil has been phenomenal for us, right? We were a 15, 20 people company when we joined hands, and today we are about 200 odd people, and we work across the banking sector. You take a large name, we are probably present there, and a lot of it, I can say goes back to those early days of problem solving and, really sitting and understanding. None of us in the company come from a banking background, but I think we are much better off, right? Just to, again, for the audience, right? In terms of what we do with ICICI. Today, when our engagement started with ICICI, it was a small engagement. Again, not for ICICI, not for us, but in the scope of what we do. It was automating what my friend that night could not do, right? Knowing which cases listed when. That was the only thing we came in to do. We worked with the team for about a year and a half, perfected it for an enterprise environment, right? We didn't know how a large bank, what systems banks have, and really did that. But today, over the last 5 years now, what it has grown into, we've replaced 3 systems inside the bank, right? So the entire litigation process, from the filing of a case to how the case is managed, how advocates are appointed, how their billing is managed, how regulatory reporting is done, and of course, that original piece of automating everything, right? So we've seen massive transformation, but I would say it has been more value accretive to us and the industry rather than just ICICI Bank. So there's credit to be given there, right? But yeah, your thoughts on the impact that you've seen, right? We work very closely, but would love to hear your thoughts on the impact.
Yeah, so what you've not said is that we are not an easy customer. We are difficult people. We negotiate hard. We demand a lot. I think what we see is that, one of the things the bank has, and I've been here for 7, 8 years now, and it's been very encouraging in investing in technology to solve problems or do our job. And, even in this whole, there was a time where we had, when I joined, I remember we had a plethora of lawyers whose only job was to go to courts and find out next date of hearing. And then we had a couple of people within the bank, which we call, paralegal people, whose job was to call this lawyer and say, next date kya hai? And then update it in the Excel sheet. That has gone. We don't, we actually just done away with this entire set of people and cost. Today we have a reliable, data. So if we first move from just, sort of getting information to now getting information in a capsule manner the way we want. So they've sort of made it bespoke to what our requirements are. We get some alerts in certain frequencies as we need it. And then we moved on to what is called a litigation management system, where we did have some litigation management. As you will imagine, a decent sized bank like ours would have lots of retail litigation, particularly in the retail space. So now we've moved to a scenario where we've really co-created with them. And when he's saying learning, I think what we have had pleasure is, and what I really am proud of with the legal team, is that the legal team has worked hand in hand with them, being the sort of interface between Shashwat's team and our IT team, and to try and actually make a litigation, because on it, all of you might say, all of us have litigation management system. What's the big deal? But this litigation management system, which has been created for us at least, where we see benefit, is that it caters to exactly what we need. We have a certain way delegation is done in the bank, that certain people are allowed to do certain things. So the litigation management system today works in a manner that it will actually pick and work as per the delegation. It will then go and allocate cases as per our logic. And it will then go and do a collaboration between business group, legal manager, external lawyer in the tool. What are we doing? We are creating a lot of institutional memory. We're creating an audit trail of who's done what and who's approved what. And then, so we don't care if somebody's leaving, because it's there in the audit trail, and we can pick it up as to say who approved what and why. And then from there, we go on to saying that, okay, now the case is in court. It then goes back to what we started 6 years back, to just get the dates pre-populated, orders pre-populated, RBI reporting pre-populated. As you know, as a bank, there are various MIS which we have to submit. So all of this, for us who's lived it, is a very painful process. We have had situations where we've gone to, and I have faced this, we've gone to a committee and are placing a report, and then suddenly I realize when I'm about to present it, that we've goofed up between million and billion in that report. That never happens now, because to lawyers this million, billion, number of zeros just gets confusing. So this will never happen now with the system which is in place. So I think it's a huge way where lawyers are now in the bank able to focus on the meaty, the intellectual part of it, and everything else is Shashwat's problem.
So again, one thing that I think the audience might learn from ICICI, and I want to draw some attention there, is how do you go about building these partnerships? How do you find these partners? How do you, what are the factors that you take into this valuation? Because again, if you ask me, it's a very heated space, right? In India, there's a technology revolution out there. There are hundreds of companies coming up who are trying to solve multiple problems. So which set of partners to work with? What's the evaluation, or what are the factors there?
So bit of it which I covered in the first part about collaboration, etc. I think in addition, what I would say would be a couple of things. One is that we almost never take products which are off the shelf. So if anybody is offering us and saying, I cannot customize this, we don't engage with them. So that's a clear no. Everything has to be catered, and so that's one. And the other big requirement is, in a bank, the IT security is one huge big thing. I think personally that the most powerful team in the bank today is an IT security team. So, it has to pass muster at a very early stage to say, is our IT security happy with what is being shown? Because this is something, legal team doesn't understand. It's a lot of mumbo jumbo and we don't understand. So we said, therefore we leave it to. So then the partner has to be, sometimes we've seen partners being very cagey and said, I'm sorry, we will not share that because that's sort of our secret sauce. So we say, thank you very much. we don't want to engage with you. So I think in addition to what I said at the beginning, these would be the two, sort of key things in addition which we will look for.
I can vouch for the IT security. It's a hard one to sort of come through, right? But again, it makes you stronger, right? I mean, so we now as an org are much stronger because of the 3-month stringent audit that we went through. We realized so many holes in our strategy and in how we were doing things. And but yeah, I mean, most people. What my personal take on this also is that if companies want to sell into enterprise, large enterprise, this is a must. And a lot of companies don't spend enough time and bandwidth on it. So it's not something that comes on your deck. It's not a feature that your customer will use. It's something hidden behind, and so often people don't put in the hard yards behind that, right? But again, we are much better off because of that whole process that we went through. So. And I know we are up on...
Other thing which we do is that, being a very Indian bank, an Indian-centric bank, we do support and like to support Indian entrepreneurs, Indian startups, who are actually in this space. Because I think that resonates with the fact that we are an Indian bank and we cater to Indians only, mostly.
Yeah, so I know we are up on time, Nilanjan. I think it was a short one. Just if it was the last, parting thoughts, I would say. I mean, I know it's a hot topic everywhere, and it would be incomplete to end this conversation without getting your thoughts on, how do you see AI coming in, and how are you seeing, the impact in the industry? What are your thoughts around AI and the impact it will have over the next decade or so?
One word. Right now, confused. I think that's all, AI is super confusing. We don't know how this will play out. We don't know. And I speak for myself and, I think partly with my legal team. I think as a bank, I'm sure our IT team knows. But personally speaking, we don't know how it's going to play out in the, space of legal. But what we are doing is that we've got something, called... a smart workflow we created, which is called the legal operating system. So we are creating a legal operating system, which is again created very in-house. We are now trying to see that how do we actually use Gen AI, which is what I've understood a little bit is that we are a 70-year-old bank. We have huge amount of knowledge and data available in the bank. We are trying to train the logic of what our predecessors and all of us have done over the 70 years to do, transaction, and then create a tool whereby if anyone, a new lawyer, a management trainee comes in, should be able to not depend currently, which the person is depending on seniors and super seniors, where all of us hoard information so that we feel important. That will go away because now the person, all of this is going to be an institutional memory being created through Gen AI. And the person can just go and query that what did we do for a 500 crore steel plant project finance loan in the case of a BBB company, which is risky. And therefore, did we sort of deviate from the event of default? So this would be a question which will be debated a lot. I think the AI is going to give us the guidance to say, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, and you're able to do it. That's what we are trying to do right now.
No, I mean, just to add my 2 cents on this, right? I mean, so one, we feel it's a transformation technology. Again, it's going to be as transformational as the mobile phone and the internet, and it's really, really going to change things, and legal's really well suited for it as well, right? I mean, there's so much textual data, so much to process. Large language models just love that, right? But what I feel is, AI will be, there will be different phases of AI. So today, if you look at the chatbots, and so for lawyers, there could be, legal practitioners, there could be a different version or different manifestation of how AI plays out. It could be much more imminent, right? So in terms of research, lawyers the sign of a great lawyer was how good were they at their research, right? And that is going to get really powerful, right? They're going to get supercharged, and the good ones are going to get like really, really, really good. But that's more imminent. But if we talk about like organizations and B2B and enterprise, I still feel, your thoughts, right? I mean, we're all in experimental stages, right? We still don't know what's going to happen. But that's something, that journey is still playing out where a lot of experiments, and I feel a lot of it will actually sit down with, large companies investing in a lot of these models in-house, right? I mean, fine-tuning, because you are sitting on a wealth of data.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think you're right, absolutely right. And that's exactly, you articulated better, that the research which is done will be available, and therefore the lawyer is going to do quality work. Generally speaking, as an AI for banking industry, I think there is a committee which has been formed by RBI. They are looking at, what should be the Lakshman Rekha, and what should be the broad guidance within which AI should operate. I think right now what people are doing is creating these lakes, creating these mines to get data organized. I think what's currently happening, in my understanding, is you're getting the data organized, you are scoping what's available, and then you're waiting for the regulator to tell us which way we can actually go. So that's where we are insofar as India is concerned right now, is my sense.
I agree. Early days, but yeah, I know we are all up on time. So again, Nilanjan, thank you so much for doing this. I know you do this less often these days. So really, really appreciative of that. Thank you for taking the time today.